the FNL Network talk show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the FNL Network talk show. I'm your host, Lillee Jean, joined here by my co-hosts, Bettina Skye, Sasha Louise, and Sean Bennett. Hi guys.
Hi.
Woo!
How's everybody doing today?
Hi.
All right.
Quiet.
Doing good. Yeah.
Well, everybody better get hyped up because Coachella just happened. And they had a lot of amazing celebs there, like Taylor Swift, Kelsey, but one stood out to me, Kesha and Renee Rapp. Now, okay, I love Kesha anyway. I grew up with TikTok and all these songs, but I also love Renee Rapp. I think she's really unapologetic and pretty cool. She's done other things than Mean Girls. Like she's been on Broadway, she's done things. So they changed the lyrics in TikTok. So instead of waking up like P. Diddy, it's now F. P. Diddy. And that was a really ballsy move because yes, he has these trials coming up, but what do you guys think about it? Was that a boss move, or do you think that the person needs to be jailed in order for somebody to make a bold statement like that? I'm going to hand it over to Bettina.
Honestly, I don't know too much about these celebrities. I don't know much about it, but I was reading, the things you sent us, and I was like, I'm very out of this loop. But I think that you can put anything in your song lyrics these days. It's not illegal. And certainly if he's a sex offender, right? Certainly, certainly, I think it's good to call out sex offenders. We still have way too much of that right now in our society. It's still a big problem. I mean, I was very happy to have the Me Too movement happen and to have these sex offenders get people to notice that this is a problem. So personally, I would think that's a good thing. Put it right in the song and let more people know about that as a problem.
What do you think about that, Sasha? Because I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I agree with her. I think that it's really important to have free speech. And also when you're in the limelight, and, it's also to show other people that this is not okay. This is not okay. And it's not, I think that, we have to take responsibility as a collective. So, it's not just, one person. This is to do with the whole society. There's something wrong with the society, because PDD is not, it's not just him. There's like a lot of men that are coming out now being, seen as not appropriate. And I think that it's really important that we take, we show that this is not okay.
I think what upset
free speech. We have free speech.
I think what upset me about this sort of thing, and Sean, I'm going to pass it to you next. What I think upset me is that I saw a lot of people attacking Kesha, saying that he's not in jail, so you should be sued, and saying a bunch of slurs and stuff that I thought were like, come on. I mean, we know what we see, and besides trials, societally we do judge each other, and we're talking about like potentially trafficking. This is not like just like, oh, he did this. This is a big deal. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah,
I think there's a lot going on. I mean, Coachella, I was only following a little bit on my socials. So day one, some guy I don't really even know, but he's my social friend. I met Paris Hilton. I'm like, oh, good for you. And then I'm thinking like, oh, will Taylor come? Because now she's dropping her 2 albums. And I didn't even know that she showed up. I find her boring as hell. So God bless that. Go Swifties.
All right.
That's my take on that. Now, as far as like FP Diddy or whatever, you're hopping on a bandwagon. It's not brave. Whether it's sincere or it's a publicity stunt, I don't know her. I don't know. It could go either way. Is it doing good? Is it doing harm? It's getting her publicity. That's all I can say. Is it good to call out somebody's action? Sure. But like to the comment earlier, before we start taping about mental illness, I honestly think P. Diddy has a lot of mental illness going on, not to excuse any behavior, but that's another thing that should be called to play. And, the sincerity of any celebrity, I call the question. But even if people are slamming them, we're talking about it. So I think that was the point more than anything. So sincerity in Hollywood or in the industry, You know, but whatever. You, P. Diddy, I'll join the bandwagon. Talk about me, SeanBBennett.com. Go viral.
I do understand your point, though. I mean, I think you bring in actually an interesting perspective because everybody's either here or here, but like you're just saying it the way it is, that equally it gave Kesha a lot of press. I mean, this was the top headlining act, and it's just a small blip in time, but it did have a lot of impact. So this brings us actually to the next topic, Prince Harry. Now, he's like a hot topic, and I want like kind of go about this topic fairly because it is my opinion that Prince Harry and his wife, they get slammed a lot. And I think especially with him renouncing his British residency, because he feels his children are not safe on UK soil, and the US is safer than, you know, he's gotten so much like nastiness. And what do you guys think about this? What do you think about his decision to like formally say like, I am renouncing this, but he's keeping his title? Both him and his wife. What do you think about that? Sasha?
Well, you know, I'm originally from Denmark and I moved to America. And Denmark is very close to the UK, and the mentality is very close to the UK as well, also as how we see the royal family. And I think that it's a very, very sore subject for the British people because, you know, we all grew up with Harry and we have this feeling that it's, you know, almost like a family member.
Yeah.
And with that, I think there's some kind of expectation from him and that how he should be, how he should react, how he should live his life. And, you know, that's a really, really big pressure to put on a person, you know. And I think that over the years, because I've been really following their whole journey with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And I think that, and I think that Meghan has been put in a situation where it's almost like impossible. Like whatever she does is just wrong, you know. And I think it's not fair. I don't think it's fair. And I think that there's like this hate going on. And I do see that from everyone. It's just talking about like, she's a narcissist, she's this and she's that. And she hasn't had a chance to just be, you know, because of that pressure. So whatever she does is wrong. And Harry is seen now as this almost like a villain compared to William. So William, he's put up on a pedestal and Harry's the opposite, you know, so he's the bad boy and William is the good boy. And we've seen that all over the world, and especially in Europe and in Denmark. You know, when I talk to my friends and family, and they're all are just like, oh, well, what's going on with Prince Harry, you know? So I think that's really sad. But I do understand him that he feels like he's more protected in America. And also because of, you know, there's more options for them here in America than in the UK, because in the UK, when you're done, you're done. You know, it's really difficult to get back in the game. And the UK people, like like the British people, are just in general, they can be very, like in some sense, unforgivable when you do something wrong. It takes a long time to be forgiven again, you know. So I do understand that he made this decision to make his new address his primary address, you know.
I think for me, I question why still use your titles. You know, if you're going to renounce something, you renounce it. You know, keeping Duchess and Duke and Prince and using it for brands, for example, it does confuse me. That confuses me a bit because I'm like, well, just renounce it then. You don't want to be involved, then just move on in your life. And, you know, and I feel like people would get that. I feel like the problem is the titles. You know, you're using them for profit. That's not so good. You know, it's a little murky there.
No, but I think I think it's just more to do with their whole branding, you know, like how they brand themselves. And I think that's the whole idea of what they're doing right now. And maybe, who knows, maybe they're going to give up the titles later on. I think it's a process. I think they're in a transitioning. And I think that, as a normal human being, I think that you need to give them some slack, because I think there's a lot of pressure. And I see like this, even with Princess Diana, there was a time when she was really put in the spotlight and people were really nagging at her as well. And she was not as popular. And then it changed after she died, because there was the whole issue with her being haunted by the press. And I see the same thing here going on. So if it ends really badly, then everything's going to change and they're going to be like, oh my God, it's so sad what happened. And, so I think we need to be a little bit more understanding for their situation, because I think it's a difficult situation to be in.
I think that's fair. What do you think, Sean?
I don't know. I'm just going by what I've heard in interviews and so forth when his Spare book was out. Essentially what I got from it is the family wasn't going to pay for the security for him and Meghan, and that's why they came to the US. So that's kind of why he's not renouncing the family or the title, but he had to pay for his own security anyhow. So that's why he was moving to the US, and it was part of the Netflix deal and the book and whatever else they decided to do. Also, with the title of the book, I guess he was always referred to as a spare. And even the rumor, I mean, he didn't really look much like Charles, and so he did look a little bit like Di's trainer. So who knows? I mean, we don't really know. I mean, and his mom did die by the press. So when your wife is being hounded by the press, I mean, it is fair to assume that the worst could happen because they experienced it. And they all have press machines going on. I mean, I personally don't think if I was in the situation, I would renounce any title when my dad could be dying, because Prince Charles has cancer. So that's a big thing. Grandma just died. So, that just happened. And now Kate Middleton may or may not be sick, but according to what she said, she is. So whether she had plastic surgery or has cancer, who knows? But, the story is cancer. So there could be a lot going on with the family. Again, it's all press machines. So I don't know what's true, what's not true. Harry hasn't called me lately. Call me, feel free.
Oh, Sean?
Yeah, exactly. We can do tea and biscuits. Why not? I like cucumber sandwiches.
Would you like some crumpets, Sean?
I loved the wedding. I would have went. It was very interracial. It seemed like the queen was accepting, and then it all went down from there. But up until then.
You know what? You have a really good point. Meghan's wedding was beautiful. I love the color scheme. It was very beautiful. I don't feel like people talk about that now, but I liked it. I actually did. I think it was really nicely done.
It was like a fairy tale.
Yeah, her dress was so beautiful. She wore this beautiful tiara. Everything seemed like a fairy tale, and then just
multicultural and diverse. Like, and that was
very
the whole
diverse.
issue. That she wasn't invited enough, the press is going against her, but that wasn't in the wedding, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, it is really sad how things just went in another direction. What do you think, Bettina?
I mean, I'm not up on another, these questions today are things that I'm really out of my league, but I tried to do some reading about them. I mean, I know a little bit about it, and it just seems like, why are we worried about them? Like, let the man do what he wants and make himself happy. If he has to do a little marketing to use the business name, his prince name, whatever, why not? And
whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. Like, let them be happy, let them have a romance. I think they're truly in love and they have a family, and why not just let them be and do what they need to do to survive,
I think that goes back a little bit to what Sasha was saying. They're people. I mean, Bettina, when you say, like, hey, use the name, use it, use what you got, you have a really good point. People are forgetting these are people, and nobody wants to see a Princess Diana again. And Henry does keep mentioning that he feels a certain way about this. And I think that, like, everybody has grown up seeing him at every stage in his life, right? And it's like, people should give them a little bit of slack and be like, okay, let them just work in their room of things. They're not hurting me. I mean, they're really not. So if anything,
silly anyway, a prince and a queen, like the whole thing, like, I'm from New York, America. I just don't get this whole idea of the fascination with it. They're just people who are just happen to be a family it just makes no sense to me anyway, why you're putting these people on a pedestal, why they have these titles. It just seems pretty insane to me to
But
be.
you know, we have the Kardashians.
Yeah.
Such
You're
class, such
inflating, you're
respect.
inflating,
I
Red.
mean,
So dumb, really. So, um, if he wants to have a happy life with his wife without all the hoopla, like, let him. And I hear he does do good things, like does charity donations and,
Yeah.
helps with all kinds of things. I don't know the specifics, but that's we should all be doing stuff like that. So,
You look at the
yeah.
point. People are undermining that. And, you know, the more and more they push these types of people who are doing good things in the world with their charities, they travel abroad. They're not going to want to do that anymore, maybe at some point in their life. And maybe those people who needed that help won't get it. So it's a terrible sort of issue. For me, the only reason I like the British sort of royalty stuff is I love history. I love the tradition of it, that sort of stuff. So it intrigues me a bit. Would I love to be under one of those types of titles? I don't think I have the chutzpah for it. No, I don't got it. I think I would be terrible. I love to paint my nails. I love to dress a certain way. I am too American. I would do terrible.
But could you imagine if you were put in that role to be like a princess, and how, like how daunting that could be,
That's what happened for Megan, though. I feel like Princess
Exactly. You
Diana-
come from nothing, and
Yeah,
then you're like, you're not like an A-list celebrity, she was doing acting on Suits,
yeah.
and then she just became like this global, star,
Or
and then a princess,
they're saying the superstar princess. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a person, as we talked about before, being a human being in flesh and blood, and there's a lot of pressure, and you have to look the best all the time. And if you're tired, or if you have a bad ankle or something, that's just
Gotta
gonna
it up.
promote it.
Yeah.
And just and there's a lot of pressure on women in general.
Yeah.
And then put that on, as an extra factor, that being a princess, and then being also biracial, that is
Yeah.
also a big thing to be put on, because there's expectations of how she should be, how she should react. And there's a lot of racism as well. I'm sorry to say that, but there is. And I think that's
No, this is
a
true.
number one factor. That is the racism thing. Even though people would not admit it, there's still racism. And I think that if Megan was 100% white, it wouldn't have played that scene. Like, it would not have been like it is now.
well, she had said that she had a miscarriage after all this as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, and I understand that, because that's a big pressure.
But on the flip side, I think there should be more gay royals, because I saw the movie Red, White, and Royal Blue, and these two gay princes, they got along great. So I just say we need more gay princes, and everything will work out, because they totally did in that movie. So that's what I say. More gay is the way.
What movie is this?
Yes,
Red,
I've
White,
heard
and
of it.
Royal Blue. It's very
Where
cute.
is it again?
Royal
I've
Blue.
I
heard
don't
of
know if
this.
it's on out. It's on one of the streaming services, but it's called
Is
Red,
it
White, and
like
Royal Blue.
It's
And
not.
Wow.
It's
Thurman
not a
is the president.
documentary. It's a
No, it's a fake, like a lifetime
Fantasy,
movie.
but I love it.
It's fantasy. So Uma Thurman plays the president. Her son is gay, and then so he meets the prince in England, and then the prince is gay, and then they wind up together, and that's what the whole thing's about.
That's
It was very cute.
That's
I
very cute.
love that. It's
Yeah.
just about love, and that's what's really important. Actually, this kind of goes into the next concept a little bit. Did you guys see the promo for Challengers? No? What about Barbie? Because there's something very similar about these two movies. It's method dressing. So basically,
I love it.
You do? Okay, so Zendaya.
I love Zendaya. Yeah. And
I know.
yeah.
She is looking like, I don't know if there's a word on the book. She looks radiant, ethereal,
She
but
really
you know
does.
the movie she's with, Challengers. She's dressing like in these inspired tennis dresses. Her hair is like blonde and it's pulled back in like a braid. Margot Robbie did something very similar with Barbie. She was method dressing, and it's a new trend in Hollywood. What do you guys think about this? It is proven to make sales more because people are involved. And as we know, sales for movies are like, they're all over the place. So what do you guys think? What do you think, Bettina?
Well, I have a couple of different thoughts. I love the idea of dressing up with a theme. I mean, I have an entertainment company and we do events all the
Okay.
time. And I love to find out like the theme of each thing so we can wear the colors of the theme, or if I'm doing face painting, like do like those things. Like I really love to fit into the theme. So I love that idea of, and you're promoting a movie, makes perfect sense that. The thing I don't like is why they're calling it method dressing. Are they referring to method acting? Because
Yeah, it's
think
urged.
I am a trained method actress. And I just think it is best to know
Offensive to you?
the term of what method acting means. It has nothing to do with like dressing part, similar to your character when you're going at a promotion for the movie. So I had a big problem with the term that they're using, but I do love the idea of doing it. It's a marketing thing, and I think it's
Yeah.
kind of really cool. Like I would love to dress similar to the character of a movie I'm in while promoting it on the red carpet, and have fashion designers, put together
Ooh.
outfit for me for all the many roles. Like that would be super fun. But change the name of it.
What would you call it then? What would you call it then to be like perfect?
I'm marketing the
something
movie.
catchy.
I'm going to the premiere and I'm marketing it the movie. Like why are you taking method acting, which is like this brilliant like way of a craft of acting, and turning it into like
Inexpensive.
fashion?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't like the way those two came together.
What do you think,
What do you have to
Sean?
call it?
You look like
I'm
you have a
marketing
thought,
my
Sean.
movie by dressing up this way. That's what you can say.
If it's free, it's for me. I wrote a book, Luxury Steals and Deals. These people are getting free outfits. They're like one of a kind from this design. How else is it one of a kind? They made it for them. I mean, that's great. I'll take one of a kind of anything, I'm sadly like shopping at Target. Like I'll get whatever I can on the clearance rack, But anyhow, I think the SAG strike may have been some of the start of this, because I think they weren't able to promote. So maybe they're trying to do like subliminal and like, walk around as their character. So that way it's like getting the word out, because they couldn't get the word out for a little while, and then they kind of stuck with it. And I also think because now everything is so social media oriented, where people have such a short attention span, it might be a 10-second clip or a song to a photo, where they're not even watching, like, back in the day, a show like an Entertainment Tonight or whatever was covering the red carpets. I think now get very little attention. Like it's just snippets from those that people are paying attention to, instead of the entire 30-minute show or whatever it, is still, but, not as popular. So I think it's just another way for everybody, because I'm sure it's great advertisement for the designer, for the movie, the production company, as well as, the actor gets, free clothing, maybe paid to wear it. Maybe campaign, because that's the other thing that it changed. Years ago we had supermodels. Now we mainly have models, because actors and, famous singers like Madonna took over all the campaigns, and all the covers of magazines. You never used to have like a Jennifer Aniston on a Cosmo, or Madonna doing the Versace campaign. That all happened after the Cindy Crawfords and Anna Nicole Smiths and all their run. That doesn't even exist really to that level anymore. So
actually,
it keeps morphing.
That's
really
pretty interesting, your correlation to that, because you're right. It is bringing a certain something back, a certain salt about it that I think is missing. And I think that's why people are most excited about it. I think for me, my only thing about, sorry, Bettina, method dressing is that it's like a forbidden word, but I gotta say it.
Okay.
Is that, like when you go deep into a character and like you feel it, and certain things are just you. I wonder if it typecasts you a little bit, because you're in that for a little bit of time for the promotion of the movie. So I wonder if that does for the actor cause something, because I know Margot Robbie's working on a movie totally different from Barbie. And that could be because of the typecasting issue. What do you think, Sasha?
I think you're right about that. I think that the whole you know, method dressing. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. And I see it as a PR and marketing strategy as well. But at the same time, I can't not think of like when we go back in time and see that old Hollywood kind of thing, you know, like when you saw Greta Garbo dressing up in the 20s and going for red carpet events, and Marilyn Monroe dressing up with the, you know, the clothes from the movies. I think that, yeah, that kind of vibe is, you know, coming to it. And then I think that it just makes you more into that kind of Hollywood, kind of dreamy, you know, movie. Yeah, dreamland. And I like that a lot. I think
Town.
that, yeah, exactly. And I think that because of COVID and the whole thing with COVID brought us, you know, it divided us a lot. You know, we had to be in our houses and, you know, being isolated. And I think that now we want fiction, we want fantasy instead of reality. So I think that kicks in and it becomes more dreamy. So with Margot Robbie being Barbie, that was almost like a way of getting into a different kind of world, you know, because we needed that. It was almost like we need to get away. We need to go to fantasy land. And I think that
Barbie
that
summer.
is really, huh?
It was a Barbie summer.
Yeah, it's like really, it just, for me, it just made me more happy again
Yeah.
because I was so depressed. And, you know, because of COVID, not seeing my friends, just being very isolated. I think that, you know, then going into the movies and then see Barbie and everything was pink and girly and
Yes.
cute. And it was just like innocent, you know,
So
like innocence that we had as children. Do you remember that? Like playing with Barbie and Superstar Barbie, all these different characters.
nostalgic.
And I
It was
think,
nostalgic. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that transcended it to what it is. And that's a brilliant way of doing it for Margot Robbie. You know, that really brought a lot of attention to the movie and also to Mattel and Barbie, you know. And then you see it now with Zendaya, you know, like a lot of these movie stars are just copying it. And I really do understand that because we need it. You know, we need an escape to Fantasyland.
I genuinely think, and this is my opinion, Margot Robbie kind of deserves a lot more credit. I know she won a lot of
I
awards.
agree.
I know she did.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree 100%. 110%.
it's the gravity of what she made. Barbie is like for everybody. That's the concept of that movie. But I think it's what she did with this concept. And I think she's a lot more behind the scenes than people realize. I mean, the press machine on this thing was insane. I mean, there was Barbie shoes, Aldo. There was a lot of marketing on this that was insane. Did you guys see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you buy anything though? Because I did. I bought a cute purse. And I was like sucked into the media train. I was sucked in. But it worked for me. And I think that we need more concepts like that. Like genuinely, I think that movies today are only starting to, for whatever reason, 2024 like on, are getting a little bit of their flavor back. That brings us actually to the last question. They're getting their flavor back, but you know, previous to 2024, there's a lot of remakes or like, you know, series that I feel like could die already, like the Transformers. I know there are Transformers fans out there, but the last one wasn't my favorite. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think it's time to give like indie filmmakers or new talent like a little bit of life and give them a chance already to like show their new ideas? I think a lot of it has to do with like too much in the past, too many old ideas or people who are too jaded. Maybe they're not thinking enough about what can I do next. What do you think, Sean?
I think we're almost sadly back to a studio system where 3 people control everything, you know, as far as corporate America. So I think that's the problem with getting a lot of the smaller products out there and seen, a new talent scene, because you have only a few people controlling everything. And a lot of it's now controlled also by stockholders and stockholder shares. So it's not even about the quality of the product. It's about whether it will sell and how to do it the cheapest or get the most people to buy it or to see it and what have you. And so that's really what a lot of the decisions are being made on, whether it's from your soft drink to a vehicle to a movie, and all the corporate mergers and so forth that led to this. And so I think that's probably part of the issue. It's like, finding a way, using the internet, using whatever tools we have for self-promotion and getting new voices out there and getting it heard. Because I think the system just is kind of counterproductive just by nature for that, because it's all just about money and shares and stock holding instead of about art and creativity. And I think that's just across the board. I mean, if we look at fashion, I don't think there was anything other than grunge since the 90s that is fully new. Like, we haven't had like a bell bottom or shoulder pads or anything. That's totally because corporate America took it over. And same thing with music. Rap started in the 80s and grunge in the 90s. What has changed? Other than, just like, maybe some instrumentation, but we're kind of plateaued. And even Broadway, it's like a musical based on a movie, based on a book, based on a movie, based on a book, based on a musical, and now the movie based on that was based on the book, so it's like enough, but it's just getting out there. So hopefully, somebody watching this talk show, let's get our voices out there and take us with it.
I genuinely feel like it's time for like, look, you're always going to have a Nepo baby. We know that. That's just the way it is. But time to give time for some new talent, some new voices, and some new visions, because I don't want to see again a movie based on a book. I'm tired of it. And I think sales are showing people are tired. Disney's Wish, it was good. It's not my most favorite, but it was good. And a lot of parents didn't want to take their children because it's expensive. I feel like if the product was wow, that might have been different. I think the problem was they hodgepodged everything together in Wish, and it just wasn't provoking enough for somebody to go, I'm going to spend that, $40 for the evening. The movie theaters are so expensive, and normal Americans, that's a treat. That's not like, people can't afford that. What do you think, Bettina?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the all this nonstop with the book and the movie and the Broadway show and then redoing. Oh my God. There's so many amazing independent filmmakers out there with some really creative new ideas. I go to a lot of film festivals. I've been in 100 or two like independent films myself. So I spend a lot of time going to screenings and filming these things. And no, they're not all great, but then some of them are very interesting with interesting concepts and fun ideas or just unique things, and it just kind of blows my mind that we're just like regurgitating the same old things with these like studio films. So it's very frustrating. I know so many like friends that are not in the business that are like, they only know about like well-known studio movies or well-known musicians. They never heard of like a little jazz thing in a back room or an independent film or they just don't think there's anything to them because the people aren't famous. Like we're always telling these people like the hardworking actors and hardworking musicians are the one that are still working that you never heard of, that are still out there doing films and doing music that you may not have heard them. Maybe instead of trying to go to these studio films, go to a film festival,
Make it an event. Have fun with your family. It's an actual thing.
They're not going to charge you like what they do with these big things, and you'll see some real creative art and maybe be moved by it or inspired by it or something,
Bettina, is there a favorite role you've done specifically on an indie that you could think of that really just you think is top studio quality and you really would bet your money that should be done?
Oh, a film that I did?
Yeah, that was small. Something that was small, but you think
came to mind that I really can't say out loud.
Well, what about the concept?
I can't say it out loud.
Oh my God, okay. Is it a secret?
I can't say it out loud. I did it with Sean and Bronson Pinchot. That's all.
Okay.
I don't want to know. I only brought it up because someone mentioned it on Facebook today. I was like horrified. Okay, let's start again. Can you tell me the question?
I love you, Bettina. Okay. You said that you worked on so many
100.
indie
Like
films.
my IMDb page is like over 100. You know, most of them are independent films.
Gotta have one though that you think is like this should be made a like a studio film, because we're talking about small concepts that really should be big, and the smaller voices aren't really getting heard.
Well, I've done some films that needed a better influx of money in order to make them
I
better.
understand.
I did a film called Death Before Discomfort, which I really liked. It's on Amazon, and that
Oh.
and that I thought that was an interesting film. And then I did one. It was called Super Dark Times. That made it onto Netflix, but that was also an independent
Really?
film, and that was really good. If you like a psychological thriller,
Nice.
that was really good. I don't think anyone's ever heard of it, but it's like it was so good. My part was tiny, but they did such a great job with that film. There's some
You're
really
so cute. I mean, I don't know. You're so cute. You're like shy, and I love that about you. You're like, it's really cute.
well, there's just on this topic. I don't have like the hundreds of like named films that I've done. I just did one yesterday. I had a
Oh,
great
congrats.
time filming something where it was about this woman who is grieving her her dad. Her dad passed away, who she never had a good relationship with, and so she was grieving because not only are you grieving like the loss of that person, but the loss of the potential of that relationship. And I thought
Where it could have
it was
gone.
such a
Yeah.
good concept and so fun to do, and it had a really beautiful ending about healing, like through your dreams or through what the possibilities could be. You have to kind of recreate that in your heart, like live that in your heart. So I did
Wow.
that yesterday. Now the thing is, it was great. The cast and crew were awesome, and I had a lead role, so it was really fun. Um,
Ooh, okay.
but you don't know how they're gonna edit it or how the sound's gonna be, or like so many factors. Like there's just so many factors, and sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it's just like so bad, and you don't know. Like you just don't know.
Well, I hope your part gets to stay in because I would love to
I'm
see
the
it.
lead. Like my part will be in this one. I was in over 7 scenes. Like
Oh,
this,
you should be good
I'm
then.
in it. Like so I'm like the main part of that story. But yeah, and sometimes you're not. I've certainly done films where I go to a screening and I'm like, "Where's my scene?" I'm like, and then I'm like, right there. We cut it. I'm like, "Well, you could
Sorry,
have done
bye.
it." I had friends
Oh.
and family there. That was at the Woodstock Film Festival. I was in.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we went to
Oh,
the
shit.
festival and everything.
Rebecca,
Yeah, Tribeca. Wasn't I into
like
Tribeca?
they had the line and it showed you after.
Oh yeah, I was in a film with the Tribeca. Oh,
It was a really good
Ah,
film. I
that
love
was a
that
good
film.
film. That was a good film.
What's
That
the
was
name of it again? I don't remember.
it's called Fresh Kills. Fresh
oh
Kills.
my
That was a
God,
good
guys.
film.
It was really good.
It was directed by Jennifer Esposito, and it was very good about female women in the mafia. I
Ooh.
believe that just got distribution though. So I have a part, but my part is like I was in like 2 scenes, but you see my face, and then I think later you hear me talking, like, but you don't see my face, so you can't even realize I'm in it. I took Sean with me to that film. That was Tribeca that had this,
Yeah.
but and I
Oh,
like over 2 years ago at this point, but it's just now getting distribution, so you might even see it in the theaters.
oh, cool. Well, let me know
Wow.
about it, guys.
Awards, it won awards at Tribeca, but she's having the darndest time, really. Where she was, I think it just got
Good.
distribution, but she was having the darndest time for 2 years, like trying to get someone to see it because it's women in the mafia. No one wants to see that, but like how the women are affected by what the men are doing.
Oh,
Thanks for
that's an
reminding me
interesting
about that
one.
one.
It was good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sasha, what do you think? I know you're jumping in
I-
here. but-
yeah, I'm just thinking that I think it's really important that we make more movies about women and female empowerment
Yeah.
and just in general, because I think that there's so few movies still, even though they talk about it, there's just not that many. And so I would love to see more female directors, more female producers, and because it's a very male dominant business,
True.
just in general. Like now I moved to Hollywood and like it's just male, there's just so many men, and I don't mind that, but I think it's really important that we have more females, especially when it's a story that is about women. If you write a story about a woman, then we need more women to work on it as well, like, and I think that that's a little bit of a problem right now, because there's a lot of men that tells women's, stories. But in the end of the day, I think there's so many things that get forgotten in that process. And because of there's so much pressure as well to do well at the box office, like selling the movie, there's a lot of money in this business, and I think that the money kills the art of it.
Yeah, the vision, the creativity.
So there can be a really good story. Yeah, there can be a really good story, and then that story just gets picked apart from, directors or producers that are just like, no, that's not relevant. No, that's not sellable. No, that's it. And I think sometimes the art has to speak for itself, and then it gets presented, and then see what happens, because really, really good stories, they cannot only be made by a money industry, it has to be true to itself. Do you understand? Like, it has to be true to itself, and it has to write itself, like, because I love writing, and I also love reading. But when I'm writing something, if I start thinking, oh, I think people would like this, oh, I think people would like that, it would just be a mess. And I would kill the whole process as well. So I think that is the key. Really good stories, and write them, and don't think about what people think of it, or if it's gonna sell or not. That's it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And then when it comes out, then you can see how people are gonna react to it. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And indie movies, like, more money should be put on that as well, producing and coming out, and talents, as you also said before, the nephew children,
Nepo babies. Yeah.
Nepo babies. I've never heard that before. Nepo babies. I think that in some sense, it's so sad that it's gone to that. You need to know people in the industry. You have to be family with the people, or you have to make a certain amount of money before you have a voice. I think that's really sad, because there's a lot of artists out there. If they just got a chance, they could just create so many really amazing things.
Yeah. The Nepo baby thing, I've come to this like mental thing that, like, I like some Nepo babies in some films, but I also feel like, we all know that agents have a certain, roster list and all that, and they're gonna favor, a Maya Hawke over just somebody not known, and that part sucks. We saw with like Stranger Things, really cool talent, and they're new, fresh, and I love that series. So, we saw some great talent out of that. Sasha, did you see Priscilla? Because for some reason you reminded me of Sofia Coppola's movie when you were talking, because that movie is shot pretty interestingly. And I think it's a unique female perspective, actually.
No, I haven't seen it. What? It's about Priscilla Presley's life?
Yeah. Sean, did you see it? Because you're not.
I started watching it, but I didn't.
Okay.
Is it good?
Yeah, I actually thought it was very unique. And we're talking about like female writers and directors, and I was like, this is uniquely a female. And it's the way it's shot, with the scenes kind of like in an angle. They're very moody. And I think they tell a story that women aren't all flowers. Women can have depth, because you know what? 100% of the time our personalities are not one note. No, that's not happening. Like tomorrow I'll be angry and crying. I don't know. And then today I'll be happy. So
it's so nuanced.
Exactly.
It's really nuanced.
Exactly. And I feel like for me, that's what makes something really great. It's not here. It's everywhere, but it's just perfect. And that film in particular, I think it's inspired by Priscilla Presley's a book she wrote. I think it is. Many of the shots are very interesting. There's a shot where the woman playing Priscilla, no other way to say it, she's like putting on mascara, and it's a side angle, and the shadowing's there, very intense. You see her walking across the carpet, so you could kind of tell the era of things, and you see like the footprints in the carpet, so like you could really tell the pile of this era. And I think that this is something a woman could bring, because women care about these things, about the details of a home,
The detail, exactly.
yes, and it's not that a man can't do it too. But I just think that this was very unique, and I think that we need to see more things like that. And you know, people need to give people a chance. Just
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
just because somebody has a big name doesn't mean anything. You've seen what big names could be. They could be zero at the box office.
But that's a
That's
funny
the way it is.
thing, because did you see, I think everybody saw Pretty Woman, like in the early
Yes.
90s
Oh, of course.
with Julia Roberts.
Yes.
Yeah, and before that, it was actually a really dark movie called 3000. And Gary Marshall, he was put on to direct it, and I think also as a producer. And before that, it was called 3000. It was kind of a low budget movie, and they hired Julia Roberts because she was not a name at that time. She's done like a few things, but not a big name yet. And then after that, she was contacted because Disney, they bought the rights to the movie. And before that, they wanted to produce it, and it was just a low budget indie movie, not a big thing. And then the company, I think, went bankrupt or something. And then Disney picked up on it. But Julia Roberts were already signed to do the role. And the story is so funny because it ends up like she's being thrown out of the car by Richard Gere, and she gets her 3000, and then she ends up, I think, like maybe committing suicide or something. It got really, really dark, that movie. Like
That's
really
right.
dark. It's a really sad movie when you think about it. But then Disney got it, and then they had to remake everything, rewrite it. And they were just like, no, we don't want Julia Roberts. She's not a name, blah, blah, blah. We want to have someone that is famous. And because she was not as famous at that time. And then Gary Marshall, he was like, well, she signed, with the project. And then he had a meeting with her, and he thought she was very charming and she had personality. And so he tried to sell it in. Well, okay, Disney said yes, but they wanted a big name. So therefore it had to be Richard Gere. That had to be, the guy with the suit. And it's very interesting because it ended up that Julia Roberts had to convince Richard Gere to say yes to the job, because he was like, I don't want to just be this guy with a suit. It's not a demanding role, and he didn't like the storyline either, so they had to rewrite it again. So there was like a lot of writers on it, and they were filming at the same time that they were writing it.
Oh.
And it just comes to show that after that, she became such a big star, and she was like nothing in the beginning. So, you can, try to get some, unknown actor or actress in a movie, and then something happens,
I thought that she was related to somebody, actually, Julia Roberts. You guys know?
Yeah, she was related to Eric Roberts, but he really fought a lot to get into the movie industry as well, because they came from nothing.
Well, I mean, Pretty Woman is a classic. Everybody here
It
knows
is.
it.
I love it. It's one of my favorite movies.
Me too.
The
And
first movie ever that I saw was Pretty Woman.
Are you serious?
In the movie theater. Wow. Yeah, my mom was a big fan of Richard Gere, so she was just like, we have to get in and see that movie. And I was like, and I've never been to a movie theater, so it was and we didn't have any money, so we were so broke that we didn't even, we could only afford the tickets, but we didn't have anything to drink. So I was like so thirsty at the end of the movie because we couldn't drink anything or have popcorn, or because we were so poor.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that role without Julia Roberts. I mean, Richard Gere, come on, yes, he brings it to that role, but yeah. I guess in a way we can relate this to the female filmmakers, writers, because as a female, she brought it. Okay, with her hair, the red,
and
the ballsiness
with all this.
Yes,
I think that was good acting. I thought it was all fluff. I mean, people who are really, people who are prostitutes and strippers do not behave that way. I mean, so not real to me that I really hated it. And I just didn't believe that was a true story at all. It was so fake. It was, think about like if you actually knew a prostitute living on the street, would she look like Julia Roberts look like that? No. The whole thing was too
Well, she'd be banged up.
The whole thing was ridiculous. And like some guy with money is gonna save this young lady and give her money. I don't know, just
It's like a modern Cinderella story. Like, I think that we all
kind of.
need some kind of hope in life, and
Yeah, but the hope is like some
so
man like giving her a bunch of money. How is that becoming? It's because she's pretty. The whole thing's ridiculous, especially in this Me Too era. You want to have a woman who's learning how to do things and get some skills. The whole point of the movie was like when she buys things and then she shows up and she's like, "Look how great this is because someone gave me money." What is she really
It's
doing?
a remake of My Fair Lady. So the whole thing was like she's not cultured and then she becomes cultured. So that was like what they were going for. But I mean, so it is a remake.
Terrible job of acting like a prostitute. That's not, when you're a prostitute, you're traumatized, like, and you don't look attractive really, so no.
But I knew a prostitute and she ended up actually just like Drew Roberts.
Sasha.
It's so true.
See, prostitute dreams come true, but
she was like a striptease dancer in
actual
Copenhagen.
Prostitute who married a billionaire or something.
Yeah, she ended up marrying a billionaire. She moved to Spain. She had a glamorous life, and she's so happy now. And they got kids.
Sure.
I don't know.
So it can happen.
Like that.
And she was so beautiful.
I mean, Sasha, you just came here like,
Prostitute realm.
drop.
Not that I would recommend that.
Good acting. I did not.
Don't go out being a prostitute.
You didn't like the acting, Bettina?
I didn't believe that she was a prostitute. I just
What
didn't
about Richard
believe
Gere?
that.
What about his part though?
I didn't believe any of it. I thought it was stupid. I didn't seem real to me. Like
Damn.
really been in that life. No.
Not even singing in the car?
No.
When he arrives down the street and he's singing his heart out to her? No? Oh,
I love that scene.
To me. And I also really, you know what? I really don't like this comment about like no other actress could play this role. I just don't like that comment in general because it's like there's billions of fabulous actors and every single actor could bring different things to the part. She's just the one that happened to get chosen. She did her thing. She was charming, but so many real actors with like real training could have brought like some real interest to that role. And same thing with so many other roles. I hear people say that all the time. We can't imagine any other actor. I've been in acting class my whole life, and I see brilliant actors take the same. Sometimes the assignment in class is like, we're all going to do this one scene with the same, and I see one after the other bring like brilliant, interesting, creative takes to every single scene, and it's different actors bring different things to each role. Any one of those actors going to be chosen for all these parts that I see, and everyone brings, as long as they're trained and interesting, will bring something interesting to the part. So I want to say ixnay to that whole sentence.
If you could rewrite
No
Pretty
offense,
Woman,
Lillee.
Bettina, if you could rewrite Pretty Woman in a perfect Bettina Skye world, what would it be like then? Shoot. Where it would be perfect in your opinion? Because
Okay, let's take a guy as the prostitute. Let's start with that. It's like,
that's interesting.
There's a homeless guy and some rich, attractive lady needs a little like boy to like do stuff for her and take care of her, maybe sexually as well. And so she's rich, so she dresses him up and she sends him on errands to do stuff. But meanwhile, he's learning skills, like life skills, like how to sew, how to
what?
That was like Sunset Boulevard instead of My Fair Lady. So there we go. So we have the whole new remake, and then you shoot him in a pool at the end because there you go. Who doesn't want that?
I love it.
Mine is still sewing. There was no sewing in Sunset Boulevard, but there should have been. There was a monkey. There was a dead monkey.
I
would-
love
I would
Sunset
watch
play the
Boulevard.
rich
Me too.
I
lady.
love that
I would play
movie.
the rich lady, and we can have Brad Pitt play the homeless guy, and I'm good to go.
There you go.
Jesus Christ.
I can
I'll
say
play the monkey.
The
Does
monkey.
he have to talk a certain way too? Is he your Ken doll? Jesus. You give Bettina an inch, she goes a mile, but I love it because it's very
I
interesting.
don't have a medium switch.
I love it though, because your concept is actually pretty fresh. I have never heard of that idea because
Isn't
it's
it
always
better?
women.
Then you're not like denigrating women to having to look pretty. That's like the
Yeah,
old.
let the men take it.
I have
Bye.
to look pretty, and then some man will give me money, and then I'll be rich, and I can put down other people who don't have money. I mean, come on.
Oh man. I think I think that we are at our hour, guys.
Okay.
This has been insane. We've had talks about prostitutes. We've had awesome
Amazing.
concepts. We've had a really great movie, Sean, that you mentioned, Red, Blue, and
Oh, Red, White, and Royal Blue. I think it's on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, but I might be wrong about that. It's on a streaming service. It's fun. It's a fun little gay romance. So
sounds really fun. And we talked about some really, I think, overall concepts about humans. Let's treat each other like humans, okay? Like we're all humans.
Exactly.
Okay.
No matter if you're princesses, or rich and, you know, famous movie stars, you know, you're still like a human.
Yes. Thank you everybody for watching FNL
Great.
Network
Thanks,
Talk
everyone.
Show. We'll
Thanks,
see you in the
Phoebe.
next one.
Yeah.
F-U-P, Diddy.
Bye.